You are listening to Power Marketing with Kevin Lee. Kevin and his agency Did It have helped thousands of businesses win through superior marketing, as have his books, articles, speaking engagements, and the E-Marketing Association Power Marketing podcasts. Here's Kevin.
I'm here today with Klaus Werner, who is the Chief Marketing and Digital Officer for Global Industrial, which is part of Systemax. And a lot of folks are not familiar with Global Industrial because they're not in market for the kinds of stuff you sell. So why don't we start with you giving a quick sort of elevator pitch of what Global Industrial is, what you sell, and who you sell it to.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for inviting me to participate, Kevin. Just a quick kind of housekeeping thing, but we actually got relisted in the New York Stock Exchange as Global Industrial Company a few months back in the summer. So we are no longer Systemax. So, and the reason I mention that is because it's very relevant to who we are and what we're focused on, right? We used to be Systemax because we used to have an international presence, and we used to also be in consumer electronics and a variety of other fields. Global Industrial now represents who we truly are, right? We are focused on industrial distribution with a high focus on manufacturing, distribution, transportation. We also have customers in government. We also have customers in areas like hospitality, construction, and multifamily apartments, right? And that is our business, and we pride ourselves in being able to supply from the front office to the loading dock. Everything from office furniture to partitions to drinking fountains. And as you start moving to the loading dock, we have everything from pallet jacks to storage and shelving. We have janitorial and sanitation, everything from small carts to clean the general office environment to heavy duty scrubbers to clean out big garages, big areas, that kind of thing. And then everything taking you all the way back to the loading dock lights, loading dock levelers, whatever the case may be. That's us. So we offer a very, very wide array from the front office to the loading dock.
Great. Well, thanks for that. And thanks for the clarification. I still think of you guys as Systemax, but clearly I had to educate myself on the change, and congrats on the relisting there. So obviously the last couple of years must have been quite different for your business and what you're selling and who you're selling it to. So with the sort of office environment changing, and with folks working from home more, are a lot of businesses essentially outfitting their work from home employees with sort of a mini additional office, or are they leaving it to the people to do that on their own? Like, how has that changed, what you're selling?
It really varies, right? I think what we're selling hasn't dramatically changed as much as to who we're selling it to. Some businesses are helping their employees outfit, others are not. It varies from industry to industry, to company to company. A friend of mine recently took a job at a company, and she was given $1,000 to outfit her home office to use any way she chose, right? But at the end of the day, what we saw at the beginning of the pandemic is that we saw a very large increase in consumer spend, right? Whether it was to outfit their offices, whether it was to get what we call COVID items, which was, hand sanitizer, PPE, face masks, or whatever the case may be. We saw a big surge in consumer spend. Small office, home office consumers, they really, really surged. We also saw a lot of the businesses going after pandemic management supplies, everything from hand sanitizers to partitions to the plexiglass partitions and everything else. Over time, this has evolved, right? I think over time, we're now getting a little bit back to our core, a lot more B2B, a little bit less consumer. A lot of businesses are now moving into a hybrid model. They're retrofitting their offices to allow more of a hybrid workspace where you may not have a desk day in and day out. You may have a hoteling environment. So that is what's happening. We are seeing it's a very slow burn, right? Because not everybody has reopened. There was a little bit of a start earlier this year, and then it was slowed down a little bit with the Delta variant. And now we're seeing a lot of businesses are starting to kind of come in full-time, come in part-time, that kind of
Are your teams actually advising companies based on floor plans of how they might go to sort of a hoteling environment, how they might best utilize their square footage, given the sort of new reality of work?
We did. We've done some. Clearly, we're a consultative sales organization, and we do some advising. We ran a couple campaigns. Last year, we did something called R3, Restore, Return, Rebound, to get your facility retrofitted for reopening. Beginning of this year, we put together some assets around back to business to allow that. So what we've done is what should the lobby look like? What should the general areas look like? Conference rooms, break rooms, and the like. What should the general office environment look like? We still have a lot of those assets on our website. So we try to provide some guidance to inspire different businesses to figure out what is the right configuration that best meets the needs for their company, their location, their culture, that kind of thing.
Right, right. Yeah, I guess a lot of folks are probably going through that thought process, but as you indicated, each one is in a different place on the timeline when they're doing that. Obviously, that the hat that you're wearing most often, probably during the day, is marketing yourselves as an organization, which is mostly a B2B sale on a go-forward basis. You had that spike in B2C sales, but your bread and butter is B2B. But some of those B2B decision makers and influencers are starting to work from home themselves or do a hybrid. And so has that changed the way in which you reach them? Are you changing the touch points? Has your marketing mix changed?
Yeah, we've continued to expand, right? We've always been a very lower funnel advertiser, right? Paid search, PLA, product list ads, that kind of thing has been a big thing. We've really moved up in the continuum for a couple of reasons. Number one is we rebranded in January of 2021. We came up with a more modern looking logo, with a new brand voice, with a new cheeky tone, with a new coloring scheme, because we really needed to differentiate in a very crowded space. When you look at industrial distributors and you see our ads prior to a rebrand, they all look the same. We're selling storage, shelving, pallet jacks, sanitation, and janitorial. Very, very similar message. They all look the same. You walk away and then you ask somebody, who did you just read an email from? People didn't know that. So as part of our rebrand, one of the things that we came up with is we came out with a very cheeky voice, tongue-in-cheek voice, right? Like we were advertising lockers and we said, we're not a metal band or lockers rock, right? So what we did is we added a little bit of humor to our advertising in very capital letters, bold colors to really differentiate. And now when you get an ad from Global Industrial, you know it's us because it's very memorable. The way that we go to market is very different than anyone else. So that has really helped really grow our brand recognition and has helped us because at the end of the day, a B2B decision maker is a consumer. And anything that you can do to kind of bring that trigger that memory, around who these people are and what they stand for has really helped us from a marketing perspective to differentiate.
Great. Well, it sounds like some of what you're doing is sort of breaking through the clutter and differentiating. Are there any other tips and tricks that you think that you've either used or that you're planning on using to really break through the clutter and further differentiate the brand, and maybe tips for other marketers who are also in what would be considered a commodity business, but in the end, it's the product, the price, and the service, right? You have to mix those three together. So,
absolutely.
How are you guys? What's your recommendation to sort of break through that clutter?
Yeah, we're doing a lot of a lot of upper funnel. We're doing affiliate advertising. We're doing YouTube advertising. We did a proof of concept with Hulu, and we did some Hulu advertising, which was pretty successful. We've actually dabbled in TikTok, believe it or not, and we got really, really positive feedback. Our videos were a lot of fun. They were fun, but also serious. They were informative, but they became pretty viral for a period of time as we kind of dabbled in that. We're dabbling in sports marketing. We're looking at a variety of different opportunities. We are sponsoring a NASCAR race, a NASCAR team this Saturday, November the 6th, I believe it is, in Phoenix, the Xfinity race. So we're going, trying all different tactics and measuring everything and seeing what resonates with our customer. But at the end of the day, if you really look at our brand today versus 2 years ago, we're out there, we're different, we're making noise, we're getting our competitors' attention, we're getting our customers' attention, most importantly, right? And that's what really counts, right? It's being able to stand for something and be able to differentiate. But at the end of the day, where the rubber hits the road, not using a racing analogy, it's in your service and in your product selection and all that. And that's something that we're also very committed to.
Right.
As you know, a lot of us have been grappling with out of stocks and supply chain challenges and inflation and that kind of thing. And we've been kind of working very hard in making sure that we have stock and managing pricing as best as we can to our abilities. And we know that this is going to normalize at some point over the next, 6 to 12 to 18 months. But nonetheless, it's been a journey, and that's what leadership is all about. And that's what we've been training on for years, and we're doing our best to make sure that we're giving a really good customer experience and having a really good product selection for our customers.
Great. Well, obviously marketing is most efficient when you can get the right message to the right people at the right time, and search is the foundation for that. Obviously, it's the most powerful part of the lower funnel. And you were talking a little bit about sort of moving upper funnel and trying to, get people's attention there with the sort of the right people, right message, right time. What people are going to self-select into deciding, that I need to go see, what you guys have, right? What do you have in stock? Yeah, they want to solve a particular problem. So what else is working well, outside of the TikTok that you just mentioned? Are there any other channels that are working well as you decide sort of, that mid to upper funnel budget, which is limited, right? You can't put it everywhere. So how are you deciding where to put that?
Great question. Yeah, we've been dabbling. We dabbled. We have an influencer, a web influencer. We're pretty heavy on Instagram. We're very active on LinkedIn, a little bit on Facebook. We partnered with your favorite trashman in Philadelphia earlier this year to help kind of sanitation and janitorial and all that. He was an excellent brand ambassador. We are also working with a couple of other influencers that are yet to be announced, that we're working through to really continue to be out there and relevant, and let people that are out there on the job using workbenches, using our supplies, be able to tell the story rather than us. And that brings a lot of credibility to the brand. So, we try to be very thoughtful and methodical and disciplined in our approach. Test and measure, test and measure, test and measure. But one of the decisions I made earlier in the year, along with my leadership team, is let's go and do a lot of experimentation out there of things that we haven't done before and see what works. So that's why you've seen us doing all kinds of things across the board. And it's been a really, really successful year when you look back at that.
Yeah, I think, part of what you had said is you've mentioned a couple of social media channels outside of LinkedIn. People think, it's B2B marketing, they should just be using LinkedIn. Why are they using these other channels? And you've mentioned TikTok and Instagram. Are sort of all the socials, in your marketing mix as well? You've got Facebook in there. Are you using Twitter at all? Any other social media channels?
Yeah, we're using we're in all of them: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. Twitter has been off and on. We haven't been active in Twitter as we probably should, actually. And this kind of came to light actually this week. We had a meeting as we are announcing our partnership with Richard Childress Racing and NASCAR. And we were doing the social plan alongside with them, and realized that we really hadn't posted in Twitter for months, right? So we want to start bringing that along to our marketing mix and see how that performs. So we have a lot of opportunity in social. As I'm looking at 2022, social is going to receive a major overhaul and a major investment that we really haven't done. Because quite frankly, as a business on social, you got to pay to play. Yep. So it's not like you can, as a consumer, you can become an influencer and without really kind of paying in, but as a business you do. So we are going to be paying next year a little bit more so that we can play a lot more and really bring the levels of engagement and followership to where they should really be for a business our size.
Great. Well, it's fantastic that you're experimenting in some new areas and really diversifying your marketing mix for the stuff that isn't last touch attribution trackable, right? In a year from now, or whenever you've sort of hit critical mass in some of these mid-funnel channels, do you have a process by which you'll sort of evaluate whether they're working or not? It's tough, obviously, in B2B to sort of know what's working. So do you have any thoughts about that for other B2B marketers who are sort of trying to move into the mid funnel?
Yeah, to give you an example, you had asked me about how are we tracking certain things, right? So one of the things that we are really focused is when we rebranded the company, we were really focused on how are we going to measure this thing. And one of the things that we did is we ran a benchmark study as to what was our brand recognition, aided and unaided. And then we ran the study again 7 months after rebrand, and our brand recognition went up by 30%. Right? Again, we're small compared to a lot of the other industrial distributors, but we're growing, right? And for us to be able to show such a great progression in such a short period of time proves that all of these things are working. So we do a variety of things, but the biggest one is the brand study that we try to run every 6 months or so to show how things are going. We are really focused on measurement. My philosophy as a marketer is that you can't measure it, you don't do it. And when somebody comes up with an idea, I said, my first question is how are we going to measure it? And if I don't ask it, members of my team will ask it, especially our planner, our head of planning and strategy. She always, if I'm not asking that question, she's the one right behind me asking that question as well. So that's really important as marketers to forget, because a lot of the stuff we do is really cool. But at the end of the day, if you can't measure it, even this NASCAR opportunity, spend a lot of time looking. I mean, what is the average viewership of an Xfinity race? What are the different positions of the car? What is the media value of these positions? How are we going to bring partners in to ride along with us? And how are we going to report to them what the value of them being on the car, right? And things like that. So as we also explored baseball, we've explored hockey. We're still exploring all of these opportunities. This is important because it's not all about the cool stuff. You also need to figure out, are you making money? Because at the end of the day, what our investors are looking for is, operating income, profitable growth. And if we don't do that, we shouldn't be doing this stuff.
Great. So every business has its sort of 80-20 rule or 90-10 rule with regards to sort of the big customers that represent a lot of the revenue, a lot of the profitability. Do you sort of overlay your marketing plan against those as well, and try to figure out, okay, how do we get more of these sort of whale type clients that really can move the needle for you?
Yeah, so our customer base is highly segmented in a variety of different segments. You have sales segments, you got operating segments, you have a variety of different segment constructs that we have going on. But when you boil it down, it comes down to what we call managed customer base and unmanaged customer base. A managed customer has a named sales rep, and unmanaged one does not, right? And again, we need to continue to work on how do we market to that managed customer a little bit more. They still get all of our emails and everything else, but those customers are really important, and there's a lot of email automation and a variety of other things that we can do to really engage, retain, move those customers to expand their category into other categories of the business, right? If you're a managed customer and primarily buy from us janitorial and sanitation, you can certainly expand maybe into material handling or storage and shelving or another category, right? So it's how do we explore and show you the breadth of our offering and do that. So that's the big focus for us. It's all about the managed customer, which are our most valuable customers that we cater to day in and day out.
Right. Yeah. Final question is really about sort of the blurring lines between sort of paid media and earned media. So this NASCAR event, for example, it's obviously a sponsorship opportunity, but a lot of that will end up bleeding over into social, as you mentioned. Maybe it'll bleed over into Twitter, and maybe you've got some of the influencers within the racing community, including the driver, who will be participating in that as well. And a lot of that ends up sort of looking more like earned media, right? So have you found ways, or are you working on strategies to sort of extend the life of that race? Because obviously the race itself is sort of a fixed point in time, but the halo effect you get from that involvement is something that you might be able to get 6 months or a year's worth of value out of. How are you thinking about that?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. Right now we're exploring, right? We're sponsoring one race, and then we are considering what is our next move. continue with NASCAR or move into a couple of other sports that we've been evaluating. We need to make that decision by December. We can leverage the relationship with this particular team, Richard Childress Racing, through the end of the year. And yes, there'll be a halo effect, and they'll be continuing. The driver certainly is involved in social media. We're bringing a handful of partners along for the ride with us, so their logos are on the car, right? So they will also be posting on their social medias and things like that. Richard Childress is posting on social media along with a few others, right? There's a press release going out maybe later on today. Probably at 3, I think it's going out today. So this is going to have a little bit of a life of its own. And then if we decide to extend the relationship, then it would go well into 2022, where it's going to have more legs, I think, because this will fizzle out after a little bit. But certainly expanding it with them or another sports team is certainly going to have a longer life.
One more question came to mind, because you mentioned a couple of times that you really seem to be collaborating with your supply chain, with your manufacturers and their brands, right? And finding ways to market together. And you don't see that happen as often as it probably should. So first of all, kudos on doing that, because you're sort of pooling your marketing budgets. But do you have any thoughts to share to other B2B marketers who may not be sort of collaborating, cooperating with their suppliers?
I think collaborating with suppliers is key, right? Because it's a very important relationship, and we have a very well developed and mature supplier partnership program where they can exhibit with us on trade shows. They can basically advertise alongside with us, everything from a banner on an email to a whole email takeover to representation on our website, participation on our catalog, participation on this car is an example. There's all kinds of different levels of participation that you can have. And we work, and also as part of that, you can also train our sales reps. So if you're brand X, you can come in and have access to our sales rep to train them on your category, so to speak, to help the sales. At the end of the day, it's really important for us to partner. So we've developed 5 levels of sponsorship that you can participate to work with us. I think that's really, really important. We'll be with our partners in Nashville next Tuesday on a full day trade show, talking about these things and unveiling a lot of these things. So my advice is your partners are really critical to you, and build a relationship with them and co-market with them. And that's going to ensure mutual success for everybody.
Great. Well, Klaus, thanks so much for sharing your wisdom with the eMarketing Association membership and the viewers. There's a lot you brought up during our conversation, which I think will give them homework assignments to go back and rethink their marketing plan. So really appreciate it.
No problem. It's my pleasure. It's so nice meeting you, and I look forward to hopefully meeting with you again soon.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Kevin Lee's Power Marketing is available on all your favorite podcast networks. Kevin loves helping businesses excel at marketing. Having marketing challenges? Just like Santa in The Miracle on 34th Street, if Kevin can't help you, he'll know someone who can. Find him on LinkedIn, subscribe, or follow.